All right, it is NaNoWrimo day 17. If you don't know who I am, my name is Daniel Poppie. I'm an author from Wisconsin. You can find out more about me at danielpoppie.com. So for day 17, first of all, if this is the first video you've seen, check out the first one. It kind of explains what I'm doing, I think. Or there's another video that comes before that. I can't remember. So, I have finished typing the book. I finished typing the book, so I am on to editing the book now. So for typing the book, I should have realized that it was going to take longer than I thought it would because, honestly, it always takes longer than I think it is going to take, unfortunately. I'm like, hey, I can do this in 2 days, and it takes 4 or 5. It's not because I'm an extremely slow typer. It's because I don't know. It just takes me longer. I guess that I can't assess how long it takes to I guess I could. I could figure out how many words per minute I could type, and then I could extrapolate it out based on how much time I have and stuff like that, and how many days, etc. But I'm on to editing, and I just wanted to go over what I do for editing, my basic overview. I think editing for me is pretty quick. I can do editing fairly quick because I don't usually need to overhaul major passages. I don't usually need to overhaul most of the book. With bigger projects, so this is a smaller project too. This book is 34,000 words, which typically for NaNoWrimo you're trying to hit like 60,000 or something like that. But this book is 34,000 words, so it's a little over half, right? But it's still a book. Now, with shorter works, it's easier to deal with them, and the reason why it's easier to deal with them is because there's less moving parts, and if there's fewer moving parts, and if there are fewer moving parts, that means that you don't actually have to worry about that. You don't have to take into consideration all these moving parts. Also, these are more straightforward stories. With bigger projects they're a bit more complex. There's a lot more that goes into them. I'm trying to really hit the nail on the head in every single aspect with bigger projects. With these, they're more fun. They're more like Pulp Fiction, and I think that you can see that when you read them. They're quicker. They're not as complex. They're like something you pick up, you'd read, you just take a break out of your day. So with my bigger projects, I do overhaul chunks of the book if I think I need to. Now, I get rid of that issue in a lot of cases because I outline books. All right. I outline my books pretty extensively. I don't follow the outlines exactly, but outlining the book definitely helps get rid of editing on the back end. And a lot of people hate editing, so I encourage you to do more outlining because then you won't have to do as much editing. But my basic editing looks like this. I do everything paragraph by paragraph, and I do it out loud. So I read a paragraph out loud, and I edit that paragraph until it sounds good to me. Right? It sounds good when I read it out loud. And I think it's important to read it out loud because sometimes you read something in your head and it doesn't sound good when you read it out loud. And it's likely the case that if you read it out loud and it doesn't sound good, it's not going to sound good, or it's going to be confusing, etc., to someone who's reading it to themselves because they don't have your understanding of the passage. So I think it is very important to read it out loud. Can I drink this yet? It's not too bad. It's terrible, but it's not too hot. So that is something I think that you should remember: is read it out loud, edit it. That's what I do, and then what I do is I read the paragraph out loud, and then I go through it. I edit until it sounds good, and then I go to the next paragraph. I do that thing with the next paragraph as well, and then I read them both together. And then I make sure they flow because a book isn't just one paragraph disconnected from another paragraph. So they should flow one to another, and it just takes practice to figure out how that works. You can kind of think of it like this. A paragraph is a microcosm of a book. So each sentence is like an individual paragraph or something like that. And each sentence should fit together and flow. And you see this with even really big authors where they'll have sentences that are disconnected. And the reason why people don't see it is they make connections themselves, but really good authors will make it so that you can't even see the writing. It'll just flow from one to the other. And I think there are issues with these books where there is some disconnection, but most people probably won't be able to see them, won't be able to see the disconnection. Excuse me. But each sentence should connect to the other in this, I don't want to say auditory. It's like the rhythm of your speech. Your speech fits together in a specific way. We don't have to think about how it fits together, but it's a natural thing when we're talking. It is the movement of your thoughts, and the movement of your thoughts generally makes sense. So I actually encourage people to look into logic, because if you look into logic, your thoughts will be clearer and they'll make more sense, right? Learn what logic is, because your thoughts will make more sense. But it also applies to paragraph by paragraph. So if I have one paragraph and I completely shift to a different paragraph, I have to make sure that flows, or I have to make sure it makes sense. But at the same time, I need to remember that writing itself also reflects this idea of, it also reflects how a person thinks, right? So sometimes you have one paragraph and then we shift completely in a different direction in another paragraph, because that's how people think. We're trying to mimic how people think when we write. We're not just trying to mimic, well, it does come out of speech, but when we think in words, right? So we're all caught up in this idea. We're all caught up in our language. We're all caught up in thinking in that way. So that is how I edit, and that's what I try to get to. And that's, I think, a good tool for getting good flow in your writing. You're trying to make that all fit together as you're talking out loud, and you're trying to make it all fit together logically, so those different paragraphs actually make sense together. And that's really my goal for the day. I know this is a longer video than usual. It's like twice as long, but I thought that I would explain a little bit more about my reasoning and why I go through it in that specific way, because I think it's the correct way of going through it. I've been thinking about writing for more than a decade, probably more than 15 years, and I've been trying to figure out exactly how it works and how you can be a better writer. I think this is really the way to do it. So I will see you tomorrow, and peace out.